I know. I'm actually okay with her eating these.
Yeah.
So we've already started chatting, but hello, welcome.
Thank you.
I have Andrew and Brad here from Salivation Snack Foods.
Correct.
And I actually met Andrew at the Bristol Farms opening, and I took a bite of one of the brownies and was like, wait a minute. I had to walk back, and I was like, hey, do you have a card? And I just coldly approached you and was like, hey, will you be on my podcast? And here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
thank you so much for coming here.
Of course.
Before we get too into like the whole nitty gritty of why we should be careful of sugars and what's in our snack foods, let's talk a little bit about salivation. 3 net carbs in one of your brownies or blondies, which is insane. And best part is there's no gluten.
Correct.
And they don't have that cooling effect.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys are listening and you're familiar with sugar-free or low sugar options, you know what I'm talking about.
That's from the erythritol.
Yeah.
So we actually use erythritol in there, but we use a combination of erythritol, allulose, and monk fruit as sweeteners.
Perfect combination.
Yeah.
Because, I'm very sensitive to that cooling effect.
And this is a million brownies later.
Okay.
There were lots of experiments, and we actually started in our kitchens, and there were a lot of misfires. And the initial recipe had more just like erythritol as the primary natural sweetener, but there was that cooling effect. And so then we started introducing and experimenting with other sweeteners. And we actually then even took our recipe. Brad and I thought, oh, it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a recipe to a pastry chef friend who we knew, who works at the Gourmandise cooking school. And she nearly spit it out.
Oh.
And so we thought, oh, wow. So we walked away with our tail between our legs. And called her the next morning and said, Clemence, would you be open to doing consulting? And she said, oh, no. I use white sugar, white flour, butter.
Classically trained French pastry
Yeah.
chef.
We respect that. But then she introduced us to another pastry chef who really enjoyed experimenting with other, ingredients and natural sweeteners. And this other pastry chef used to work at the French Laundry, and she had her own bakery in Culver City. And so she then helped refine the recipe significantly.
Yeah.
So these brownies and blondies, they do not taste healthy whatsoever. Or I don't like using the term clean because it's so subjective. But in reality is, like I said in the beginning when we were getting started, I'm okay with my daughter eating this.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm not super, super strict with her out of the house, I do avoid certain things as much as possible. Number one is seed oils and then refined sugar whenever possible. To me, I'm like, it's a treat. It's not something we're going to consume every day. And and Andrew, you met my brother briefly who sampled the brownies at Bristol Farm. He is not keto whatsoever. He doesn't care. He eats like a garbage can, and he's just all like, wow, these are really good. Like, so I love what you guys are bringing to the market, not just for the paleo and keto crew or diabetic crew, but specifically to like show the world you don't have to use refined sugar to enjoy pastries.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest compliments that we get is when someone tastes one of our brownies or blondies and they're like, wow, it tastes like an actual brownie. And they're like, this may be the best brownie I've ever had. And so when you have that without, sugar and without gluten, you don't have to compromise anymore. Like the kind of food science has come a long way. And
So your story is actually really interesting. How did you guys discover this keto world, and why did you even want to start making foods that were better for us?
Sure. Well, Andrew and I both found ourselves kind of having left our corporate marketing jobs, and our friend Dave was on the keto diet for health reasons, and he introduced us to the whole world of the metabolic health community, where I don't know if you know this, but the keto diet is actually this year celebrating its 100th anniversary as being a treatment for epilepsy. But it's also, there's over 50 clinical studies going on right now for the keto diet to treat everything from cancer to dementia to Alzheimer's to heart disease. So it was kind of opened our eyes to this whole world of keto, and just not the fad aspect of it,
Yeah.
but more of the scientific backed, like this is really, food is medicine. And so we set out to, we looked in the marketplace and we saw that there was just not anything that there was very few products that were kind of clean keto, like you were saying earlier, but that also tasted good,
Yeah.
and so we set out to change that.
Yeah. I mean, we were really struck by the void in the market for really delicious gourmet pastries specifically. And so we, again, like a million brownies later, we felt we finally kind of got it. And, and it took probably about a year and a half of product development before we felt comfortable, like with the recipe. So.
Now, you guys both kind of came up in the corporate snack food world. And before all of this, did you realize how bad sugar was, maybe? Like on the daily basis, how much sugar we were consuming? Has it always been on your mind to be more health conscious, or was it really more of an eye-awakening experience when your friend needed to go on keto?
I think it's been a journey. Like I think both of us have gone through kind of a similar path of, like, I mean, you used to work in confections, so talk about sugar. I used to work in premium juice, which was also very high in sugar. So as we've kind of gone on our careers, we've also gotten to healthier products, not only in what we work on, but also what we put in our own bodies.
Yeah, I feel like as we, like when you're a kid, you seek that pleasure, right? You just go for the pleasure. I watch it now with my baby.
Yeah.
Whether it's play, food, or a nap, you're an animal. That's all you see. It's like the next pleasure. And then even in your teens, you think you're invincible. And it's not until maybe you experience your own health problems or witness it of someone else that you might start questioning, like, hey, maybe I should eat a salad, or maybe I am eating too much sugar. What is too much sugar? Because I think, you had mentioned something that you used to work on that had like 400 calories in one bottle.
450, yeah.
450 calories in one bottle. And I know exactly that my mom would have picked up that bottle and said, oh, but it's healthy.
Yeah.
And I'll drink it. And she would drink it as part of her meal. 450 calories, by the way, is like my breakfast.
Right.
So she's drinking this breakfast amount of calories, and then there was how many grams of sugar?
Oh, like 26.
Yeah. And then she would eat something else that was very carb heavy, and back then we differentiated like sugar and then carbs.
Yep.
They weren't the same thing, but in reality our body treats it the same.
That's exactly right.
So it's very interesting because I think, you obviously get healthier as you get older, or you hope to get healthier because we start coming towards closer to the end of our life, or we are witnessing people around us maybe getting sick, losing people that we care about. Our priorities shift. But again, bringing it back to these brownies, like I'm saying, like these are a fun kid food, but refined too, so I can like put a scoop of really rich low sugar ice cream on top of it,
totally,
or heat it up, and it's like very decadent, and it's letting us know as kids, hopefully, that quality ingredients, sugar replacements, natural sweeteners are just as fun. I'm hoping for this generation.
Totally. Yeah. We actually made our debut at something called the Metabolic Health Summit, which happened right before the world shut down, right? It was in January
30th of 2020.
Wow.
And we had mothers of cancer survivors come over and say, like, thank you for making this product. They were members of a nonprofit called the Max Love Project, which is all about teaching parents how to prepare low sugar, low carb food for their kids, and especially with kids with cancer. Cancer needs glucose to survive, and if you're running on ketones, then you starve the cancer. So these moms were saying, thank you for bringing out something where my child can go to a birthday party and bring their special dessert, because they can't eat what everyone else is eating, but yet this is craveable. Like this is something that all the other kids will want to eat too, and they don't know that it doesn't have the sugar in it. So that's kind of like why we do it and why we're a sponsor of the Metabolic Health Summit. It's just for the incredible health benefits of going low carb and low sugar.
Now, are you guys still keto? Have you done keto? What's your own personal nutrition plan?
We both did keto, and that's where we kind of came up with the idea of brownies, because when we did it, this was in support of our friend Dave. We realized that we missed three things: bread, salty snacks, and sweet like baked goods or pastries. And so we kind of honed in on the pastry area and said that's what the area where we were going to focus on, right?
Yeah, that was also like kind of the area that we were missing the most as well.
Yeah.
My daughter would say, Baba, you cheat most days. So I guess I'm dirty keto, to be totally honest. I mean, I definitely have become, I've definitely become much more aware and more conscious of what I'm putting into my body. And I used to think it was more, exercise, you could eat whatever you want, but that's really not the case. It's there's such a fine line. So I could do a great workout and I go, I can just mow after, but that just totally offsets kind of everything you've done. So I've definitely become more conscious, but I absolutely love my Shanghai dumplings. And
and this is the hardest thing, right? So Andrew, I'm guessing you're Chinese.
Yes.
I'm Taiwanese Chinese, and we talked a little bit before we started recording, but I grew up with immigrant parents. I did have juice in my baby bottle. I started drinking Coke from the time I can't remember. Like regular Coca-Cola was my water, and my parents ran a movie theater, so I was in the stockroom eating king-size candy bars, hot dogs, and popcorn. That was my meal. And we were the cool family because we always had king-size candy bars, and those were in my lunch boxes. And then my favorite traditional foods are so not like glucose friendly, because it's just like glutinous flour, glutinous rice, then soy sauce with sugar, the rock sugar, and then more sugar, all of these things. And so when I went keto for my own health reasons, it was really hard for that purpose. I was like, oh, I crave some baos or dumplings or boba tea. Oh my God, I did boba with no sugar and did my glucose test. I hit 168, and this was a sugar-free boba.
Wow.
So those of you guys getting regular sugar, you might want to reconsider or plan it accordingly. So anyways, going keto as a Taiwanese American sucks, and I'm waiting for that journey to kind of like figure itself out. But I think there's a fine balance too, right? Like there are the people who need to stay on keto for health reasons, and it's so amazing that there are these ways we can naturally help people by educating them and showing them about how you can run on ketones. This is going to be much more helpful if you have epilepsy or cancer or even other mental issues that you need to kind of manage. But we can all benefit from lowering our sugar intake and balancing our glucose. I'm like obsessed with balancing glucose because I think the more research I've been doing and the more people I talk to, I'm realizing that's the key to metabolic health. That's the key to every disease, is that's going to go first, or there's a saying that I saw on Instagram the other day, like our genes are the bullets in the gun, but our lifestyle is the trigger. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I like that.
Yeah. And it's like, well, there's so much we can do to support ourselves, but I feel like a lot of people don't want to get healthy because it's so much easier to be addicted to sugar and that pleasure of what sugar gives our brain. And the withdrawals are pretty bad. So when I first went on keto, like I said, it was pretty hard. You don't know what you're eating. You don't know how to eat anymore because you start looking at things. And then headaches, dry mouth, lethargy. But that's very quick, like 7 days, I would say you're done with that. And the benefits are so much better. Did you guys experience any withdrawals?
I've been paleo for most of my adult life.
Oh, well,
So
I can't relate.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding, mister.
so I don't, and I don't really have a sweet tooth, but it was, going on that journey. It was more about cutting out carbs for me than it was about sugar. And I think that there's so many interesting products that are out there now. Maybe not Taiwanese products, but they make these crackers. Simple Mills makes these crackers out of nuts, out of nut flour, which they're really clean ingredients and they're low carb. So you can eat a cracker and like not have to deal with the carbohydrate or the sugar rush. And your body, like you said, turns carbohydrates into glucose just as it does sugars.
Yeah.
In fact, if you eat enough protein, it'll turn protein into glucose also. So that's why on a keto diet you have to keep it kind of low protein. But anyway.
Yeah, and I feel like I strike a balance like in my life every day, like with my food. Like if I know that I'm going to have my dumplings that night, I'll just do like a kale salad with avocado and salmon in the afternoon and probably not eat any other carbs. And granted, I'm going to go over, 50, with the dumplings, depending on how many I eat, how many, steamers I eat. But, but again, it's a kind of an intentional choice. And just because I feel like there is like it's a balance, right? Because it can't, you become resentful or you just don't want to forgo everything in your life.
I think the key, because being a certified nutritionist, I work with people on this. And I think they don't understand that you can't have balance without kind of recalibrating your body first. So maybe for me, it was like the initial 30 days, 90 days of just coming off of that stuff and then reintroducing it and figuring out what was my limit. I'm obsessive now, so I have a continuous glucose monitor on me and I'm kind of messing around with things. But there are ways we can do, we can be more balanced. Like, I think the first step, though, is to be aware of how much we are consuming. And I think maybe, I don't know, Andrew, when you went on keto, was it like, oh, wow, everything has sugar hidden in it?
It just floored me, to be honest. And, we've grown up, in college, I was a student health advocate, and we learned all about like the pure food pyramid. And it's like, really, that should be turned upside down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's just floored me how we've always grown up thinking, oh, it should be rice and potatoes and bread as the baseline, but that's just completely incorrect. And so there was a lot of like kind of mental shift, paradigm shift that I had to go through when I was doing keto. And, it did feel like uncomfortable and there was a keto flu, but I think the benefits just certainly outweighed like the kind of the painful part, the transition part. And right now I feel like I'm kind of at a point where like I'm not strictly again, my daughter will always say I'm cheating if I have a piece of pizza every once in a while. But I think it's just for myself that's kind of works. Like,
well, I think life is also meant to be lived. I don't want my daughter never to grow up and never have a pastry with real sugar in it or gluten. It's more about, okay, well, we're at home. These are things that I just don't buy, first of all, so she can't ask for it. But when we go out, I'm way more relaxed. I'm just like, okay, as long as you eat your protein, you can have that pastry, or we'll get ice cream after we have the protein and we're going to go on a walk. You're going to play so that sugar is going to be used up, hopefully as much as possible, less of a crash. There are things we can do, but things that are not taught to us. And this is something that's like driving me crazy is the food pyramid, or now my plate, which is still messed up.
It is.
And it makes, I think, all of our jobs a lot more challenging because people cannot get the idea of making that rice portion a little bit smaller and increasing that protein. And especially, I would specifically work with women with hormonal issues. And I'm just like, you need to at minimum be eating 20 grams of protein at each sitting. And they don't realize how much that is because they don't realize they've been eating an all carb diet. Maybe some fiber in there as well. But this idea that protein's not as important for women is so bizarre to me. And even now, we're not prioritizing protein anymore as a population, or not true protein. And it's this weird balance because I'm like, I'm gonna have to fight the world against what I know is right, and what is going to work for my family.
Yeah.
But I'm so nervous because I have a 15-month-old, and I'm just like, you're kind of perfect right now. You're not a picky eater. You'll try everything.
Right.
What am I going to do when the world hits you? How old is your daughter?
She's 12.
Okay. And how has that been going?
I think some of it does start at home, like in kind of what you surround her with and what you don't introduce to her. But it's not. But the thing is, the cake is not taboo. It's not like you can never have it. I think what you said is about like the different occasions when you introduce that. So after you eat your dinner with the protein and the vegetable and a little bit of rice or whatever carb
cauliflower or cauliflower rice.
And so I think it's like some of it's like it starts in the home, and then so now she's at a point where she doesn't like sweets so much, and it's just that's what's right to her now, which is kind of like the issue that we had growing up, right? Like what was right to us was juice in your bottle and like rice, mounds of rice. But so now as adults, we kind of had to offset, like kind of reverse that.
Yeah.
Whereas I think kind of, it's like baby steps, right? What we can do for our family and then hopefully the people that are in our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that do you end up cooking more because of or do you find that you're finding more kind of keto or low sugar products in the market that you can just kind of bring home and prepare?
Unfortunately, a lot of keto products out there is BS, in my opinion, because they load it with filler fibers.
Yeah.
And unless you have a glucose monitor or even like a quick blood test, you're not going to know truly how your body's reacting to it, because you can. So those of you guys who aren't familiar with keto, like one of the rule of thumb is you take the total carbohydrates and subtract fiber and sugar alcohols. Now, a lot of companies are filling their food product with fiber, and then it brings down the net carb. Well, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's lower carb. So you have to look at the total carb, which then makes people really agitated and confused, because a lot of times I'm working with people who've never even looked at ingredients on a label. And so I really do not advocate for packaged foods 90% of the time. I think if it comes in a package, avoid it. That's a treat food, which is why when I saw your product, read the ingredients, and then tasted it, I was like, wait, what? Because one of my rules for my clients is no packaged foods for the first 30 days. We'll reintroduce it, and if you must, I give like a list of what you can and cannot have. And again, I don't put foods off the table. It's a short period of time. I don't like this whole this is a bad food. This is But a big one, another one is seed oils. For paleo, I feel like they're doing better about not putting seed oils in paleo-friendly foods. But I was kind of like, keto people don't want seed oils either. Actually, nobody wants seed oils.
Yeah.
Get rid of them.
Right. Totally. And they're pervasive. They're in everything.
They're in absolutely everything. And this is, again, why I'm like, look, I don't keep it in the house. I do my best to avoid buying it. But when we go out to a restaurant, I'm not going to be that person that asks what oil they cook in.
Right.
I just assume we're getting it.
Yeah.
And occasionally, if it's steak, I'm like, what are you cooking that in?
Right.
Because I'm not going to pay $57 for a steak and have you put canola oil on it or whatever. Or if we're at one of those breakfast places and I see that they have avocado oil, I'll be like, or olive oil, I'll be like, hey, can you use that instead to make my omelet?
Totally.
But I'm also not that person that's going to be like, what's the ingredients of your bun?
Right.
I'm either going to eat it or not eat it at that point. And I also think it makes it less of a thing. My kid's not seeing mommy be so picky because that could turn her off to health.
Yeah.
I'm all about living your life at a certain point. And so the short answer is yes and no. The answer is I end up spending a lot of money if I have to eat out. If I drive up for an event or something, I'll pull over at the Whole Foods. I'll pick up a salmon from the deli, and then I'll be like, oh, I kind of want some cheese. I want some salami. And then I'll pick up a box of water, and then I'm like, oh, I want something sweet. I might, Lily's chocolate. I don't know. But then I'm like $40 out. So
And that's just lunch.
Right.
yeah. So that's kind of the unfortunate thing is I haven't really found eating out to be affordable.
Mm-hmm.
I do it because I am in a privileged situation where I can make that my priority.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that's very difficult for people, I feel like, too, is how do you start to eat better with the food cost is on the rise and to be aware of everything and put together, like, here's my protein, here's my fiber, here's my snack. Like, it gets really costly. And then I do try anything on the menu that's a keto option
Mm-hmm.
because I always want to know. And what's the one? The Takaya? They have a keto bowl. It's like a healthy Mexican restaurant.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
They have a healthy, like, it's made with cauliflower. It's got salmon, I think, but there's definitely not enough fat. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm still hungry. So if you're on keto, you're gonna have to ask for like extra avocado.
Yep.
That's another $4.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
on top of a $20 bowl.
Right.
So I think there are more options, but I really want people to understand that there's dirty keto, there's clean keto,
Yeah.
or cleaner keto, and then there's just being aware of your blood sugar.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, did you guys know 88% of the population has dysregulated glucose?
No,
Yeah,
that's
Oh my
insane.
gosh! Wow.
88%.
Well, there's no surprise. I mean, I was looking at I don't know, I was I almost always read the labels, but for some reason I was buying this marinara sauce at Trader Joe's, and I turned it over, and like after I was rinsing out the bottle, for recycling, I accidentally kind of glimpsed of the label, and I'm like, there's sugar in here.
Yeah.
Like, why is there sugar, cane sugar in marinara sauce? It's not necessary. You knew it was in ketchup, but I didn't know it was in marinara sauce. So you really
yeah.
have to be like, you have to be so, what's the word? You can't give up. I mean, you got to
No.
be so
Like diligent.
diligent.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
about
I
it.
was like, I can't think of it.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, we, like, in our family, we try to make our own meals, but just, with the busy days, it's just hard to,
Yeah.
and so it does, you're right, it does cost a lot when you kind of find, like, those better foods at the grocery store,
In addition to that, I think it also requires planning.
Oh,
so
Yes.
like
Yeah.
we actually plan out our menu for the week every Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday we go to the stores and we go to Trader Joe's first to get the cheaper stuff, and then we
Yeah.
go to Sprouts afterwards to get the more expensive stuff. But it takes a lot of planning, and you'd mentioned earlier that you were vegan for a part of your
Oh my
time.
God, I don't like talking about that. But
Okay.
yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm
No.
totally kidding. I think it's important that people do know that I have literally tried everything
Yeah.
before becoming educated and certified.
Well, that was the thing. It's like being paleo and trying to go to I was meeting my friend at a vegan restaurant. There's absolutely nothing on the menu because everything has grain in it.
Mhm.
Everything had legumes in it, which are also kind of high in starch. So it was like vegan is like the opposite of keto.
It's a
It's-
high carb diet.
It's impossible to eat low carb. Yeah, exactly. And vegan.
I tried doing ketotarian a little bit, which is like where you eat less animal products, but then, it's like a mix in between the two. Not really sure how you're not vegan, but, less
It's
animal
like
products.
flexitarian.
Yeah. And I was hungry all the time.
Mhm.
I was just starving because I could not eat enough of those not animal products to feel full.
Yeah.
I would say I was consuming maybe 2 to 3 times the amount of calories on a vegan diet or even a
Mhm.
vegetarian diet. Same with on my traditional diet before I became what I am now, which I wouldn't say I'm keto. I'm definitely not keto. My carbs have gone up. But keto to me is a great place for people to get started, to get off of the sugar train, off the carbohydrate train.
Yeah.
And I say do it dirty if you have to. Do it dirty for 2 weeks. Live your best dirty keto life. Start cleaning it up after the 2 weeks, and then start playing after 30 days. Because I don't think majority of the population is going to thrive on a strict ketogenic diet.
Mhm.
I also don't think majority of the population is going to thrive on a veganism diet. it's just you're giving up a lot of nutrient densities.
Yeah.
It's a very privileged place to be able to supplement and do veganism right or more healthfully. And I don't think we should villainize foods, because I know if I came home as a child and said, Mom, meat is bad, I need to be a vegan, what the hell was she supposed to feed me?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
She's
Especially in a Chinese household. Yeah, Taiwanese Chinese
rice.
household.
You
Yeah.
can have rice and soy sauce. That's
Yeah.
all I would
Yeah.
get.
Right.
And we're not taking account to people who are in the poverty, below the poverty line, or
Mhm.
even just middle class at this point,
Yep.
because you can think what you want about animal protein, but it is the most amount of nutrients you can get for the price, without having to overthink it. And both parents work. They don't have time to do the kind of planning that it's required to be like super strict one thing or the other.
Mhm.
Because even being vegan, if to do it to make sure you're getting all your nutrients, you're going to have to plan. You're going to have
Yeah.
to plan really hard, and you're going to have to buy some supplements.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where we shouldn't be villainizing either side. If you want to, it's also your choice. Eat what you want. Know about it. If you want to be healthy, like, don't ask me 10 years from now why you're now diabetic,
Mhm.
because I just told you 88% of the population
Yeah.
has glucose dysregulation, which means they're going to end up with diabetes at some point in their
Mhm.
life, unfortunately. And they're now calling it the third Alzheimer's, or the third, yeah, because it's not proven necessarily that it's like one causes the other, but it's very much the same kind of inflammation and
Sure.
issues that is happening in the body with your cognitive functions, as well as with your blood sugar. So again, why you should maybe try Salivation Snack Foods
Totally.
instead
Right.
of reaching for that box brownie, which, by the way, isn't that good.
Yeah.
So I can't believe it. I really can't believe this brownie comes in a package and is already made. Like, I'm not going to a specialized bakery to have to pick this up. So, where are you guys carried right now, so that those of you guys listening or watching know?
So we're at Bristol Farms, where we met,
Mhm.
and we're also at Lassen's. And we're primarily like in Clark's Nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
and also natural food stores kind of throughout the city. We're like Rainbow Acres, Grassroots in Pasadena,
Cool.
Opportunity in Culver City and in Santa Monica. And in San Diego, we're at Fraser Farms. And we're at Seaside, Cardiff. And there's an independently owned Sprouts in Chula Vista, where we are too.
And we're excited that we just so we're in SoCal, and so
Mhm.
that's where a lot of our distribution is. But we just got 10 stores in Chicago that have opened up.
Yeah.
Pete's Fine Market, a lot of the Pete's locations are taking our brownies in, and they're also available online on both Amazon and on our website.
That's incredible. What's it like working with Amazon without getting in trouble? If you guys like don't want to like say anything too much, but because here's the thing, I'm loving seeing so many smaller businesses, and I'm not diminishing you guys. I'm just saying, like, you guys are new,
Mhm.
and you're being able to reach a huge market by being able to be on Amazon, which is awesome, and that they're supporting smaller businesses and letting, like, I think that's great because, Amazon's the giant.
Mhm.
It's convenient.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because when you're a seller on Amazon, there's actually something called Amazon University,
Mhm.
where it's a whole online video course tutorial that took like, I don't know, 2 weeks to watch all the videos, because they are literally the most consumer centric company in the world, and that's their plan. So everything revolves around the consumer. So they have like brand health metrics that if we don't ship a package out within 2 days, we get dinged. We get a deduction. If we get a customer reaches out through the Amazon platform to us, if we don't get back to them within 24 hours, we get dinged.
Ooh.
If you get a certain number of dings, then you don't get to sell on Amazon anymore. So it's a giant. It's where everyone shops. We sold 4 brownies this morning before 9 o'clock on Amazon, and the phone just kept dinging and dinging with the little cash register sign. But you have to make sure that you're delivering what you say you're going to deliver on Amazon every single time.
Well, I think that's why everyone loves kind of shopping on Amazon. They are so customer centric. So,
Totally.
like, as a consumer, I love it. I always question, though, like, how challenging is it to be
I mean,
the
it's like,
seller?
I mean, again, they make all the tools accessible and available. So it's just a matter of kind of diving in and learning it and figuring it out. But there is like, we still have a straight A report card right now. But there is always like, I thought I was done with school. I don't need any more school. But like, but
Yeah.
there's always something that we can figure out, and always like a progress report or report card that we have to be mindful of. Make sure that we get A's on.
Yeah. Well, that's really exciting. I'm happy you guys are on Amazon as well as all of the local grocery stores. If you see them, please support them in store because I know how much it's important for your retailers.
Yes, thank you.
And hopefully you'll be nationwide soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers
Fingers
crossed.
crossed.
Are there any? I know you're very new in the sense of like you already have 3. Is it 3 flavors? 4?
Yeah.
You have
Yep.
4 flavors, and we're just trying to get distribution at this point. But like, is there anything you can share coming up for the brand?
Anything coming up? Well, we just launched. So we started with in September of 2020 with the 3 brownie flavors. There's dark chocolate, macadamia nut, and walnut chocolate chip. We introduced the chocolate chip blondie just a couple months ago.
Right. Right before Expo West.
Oh, so that was
Wow.
that was
So
last
I think
month.
you were one
Yeah.
of the first to try it when we saw.
I didn't try it. My brother tried it.
Okay, and he liked it.
Yeah, he
Yes.
liked it.
The Mr. Sugarholic loved it.
Yes.
Yes.
I make him sound horrible, but he's actually the one that's been intermittent fasting and telling
Okay.
everybody
good.
that smoothies were just dessert and an entire meal. So if you had it, you should only have that. For I think as long as I could remember.
Yeah.
And he was one of those. He's someone he's very factual. He's like, this is the information. That's it. Like
Yeah.
I don't care what marketing says. I don't care what mom says. I don't.
There's a right and there's a
Yeah.
wrong.
And here's the facts. This is why I do because people are always like breakfast so important, first meal of the day. He's never had breakfast. I've never seen this man eat breakfast. So while he doesn't eat the best foods all the time, he's been doing these things forever. And you've met him. He's like 55 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He does not look
Yeah,
55 years
not
old.
at
He looks
all.
like my age. And he rides like crazy, like 300 miles on his bike in one day.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, he cycles for fun.
Oh my gosh.
So, and he kicked my ass at the Grand Canyon. Like, I think I'm 14, 15 years younger. And I was like, I work out every day. I strength train. I do HIIT. I do everything. I was at the healthiest point in my life physically. And he outwalked me by like 2 hours.
Wow.
And I was in pain crying. And he was like, yeah. So he's like a good example of you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You adopt what you know to be true and what works for your body. And for him, fasting, he just naturally did it for his entire life. I always joke because he shops, all his groceries are from Costco. So sometimes I like want to go in there and like replace things. But Costco does have a lot of good, healthier options these days.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah. He just likes to buy the peanut butter that has sugar in it and hydrogenated oils. And I'm like, can we switch this?
Yeah.
So, but he also doesn't know better because he's of that generation. And raised by my mom who, we ate candy
All right.
for breakfast. But it was really wonderful having you guys on my podcast, being one of the first guests on my new podcast. So thank you so much. I'm going to have the Salivation Snack Foods website in the show notes and your Instagram in the show notes. So if you're watching right now on YouTube, it'll be in the description box. If you're listening, it will be in the show notes. And make sure to tune in every week for a new episode.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much
having
for
us.
having us.
Yeah, of course.
It's been fun.
Awesome.